How do you separate history from legend? When it comes to the origins of Islam, the answers may be more surprising than you think. Could the Quran, Islam's holiest text, have been influenced by political ambitions? And what if Islam's early development had less to do with the Arabian desert and more with the broader cultural and religious currents of the ancient world? These questions challenge everything we think we know about one of the world's largest religions. And by the end of this episode, we'll reveal a controversial theory about how power and politics might have shaped the Quran itself. Welcome to Armchair Archaeology. If you're passionate about history's greatest mysteries and how they connect to the world today, you're in the right place. In this episode, we'll explore the traditional story of Islam's origins, examine groundbreaking revisionist theories, and uncover how the religion's rise still resonates with the challenges we face today, from social justice to global unity. Let's get started. Before the rise of Islam, the Arabian Peninsula was a land of extremes, an arid desert interspersed with oases and trade routes that linked major empires. This harsh environment shaped the tribal societies that dominated the region, where survival depended on loyalty to one's clan and control over resources. Yet despite its apparent isolation, pre-Islamic Arabia was deeply connected to the wider world through trade and culture. Mecca, in particular, stood out as a hub of commerce and spirituality. Picture a bustling city where traders shouted prices for silk, spices, and incense, while pilgrims circled the Kaaba under the desert sun. Vibrant fabrics and exotic goods from distant lands filled the market streets, making Mecca a kaleidoscope of commerce and belief. Its location along lucrative caravan routes made it an economic powerhouse, while the Kaaba, a sacred shrine housing idols of over 360 gods, attracted pilgrims from across the peninsula. These pilgrims not only bolstered Mecca's economy, but also made it a melting pot of ideas and beliefs. Curious about the ancient cities and civilizations that shaped history? Check out our exclusive ebook, Secrets of the Ancient World, for a deeper dive into lost cities, forgotten cultures, and incredible innovations. The link is in the pinned comment. While polytheism was the dominant religion, monotheistic traditions were beginning to take root. Jewish tribes lived in cities like Medina, and Christianity spread along northern trade routes, influenced by the Byzantine Empire. Zoroastrianism, the state religion of the neighboring Sasanian Empire, also left traces in Eastern Arabia. These faiths introduced ideas about one God, morality, and scripture, subtly influencing the religious climate into which Islam would later emerge. At the same time, environmental and social challenges, scarce resources, frequent tribal conflicts, and the lack of central authority created instability. These factors made the Arabian Peninsula ripe for a unifying force. This dynamic backdrop of interconnected trade, religious exchange, and social tension set the stage for a movement that would transcend tribal divisions and transform the trajectory of the region. Islam did not emerge in isolation, but as a response to the challenges and opportunities of its time. This interconnectedness between trade, religion, and survival sets the stage for Islam's revolutionary rise, a story that combines divine revelation with human ingenuity. What do you think so far? Does the interconnectedness of trade and religion surprise you? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. The traditional account of Islam's origins is one of divine revelation and spiritual transformation. Imagine a young boy growing up in a city filled with travelers and merchants, listening to stories of distant lands and gods while dreaming of something greater. This was Muhammad's world, a place brimming with potential, but divided by tribal loyalties. According to Islamic tradition, Muhammad was born in Mecca around 570 CE into the Quraysh tribe, a powerful clan that controlled the city's bustling trade and religious center. At the age of 40, during a retreat to the cave of Hira, he experienced his first revelation from Allah through the angel Gabriel. Over the next 23 years, these revelations would form the Quran, the sacred text of Islam. Muhammad's message of monotheism, social justice, and accountability before one God was revolutionary in a society deeply tied to polytheism and tribal loyalty. His teachings gained followers, but also fierce opposition from Mecca's elites, who saw his message as a threat to their power and the Kaaba's role as a polytheistic pilgrimage site. This resistance forced Muhammad and his followers to undertake the Hijra in 622 CE, fleeing to Medina. This migration marked a turning point in Islamic history, establishing the first Muslim community, known as the Ummah. In Medina, Muhammad transformed from a preacher into a statesman and military leader, uniting warring tribes under the banner of Islam. Within a decade, the Muslim community grew strong enough to return to Mecca, where Muhammad's forces peacefully reclaimed the city in 630 CE. He cleansed the Kaaba of its idols, rededicating it to Allah and cementing Mecca's role as Islam's spiritual heart. After Muhammad's death in 632 CE, the Rashidun caliphs continued his mission, rapidly expanding Islam's reach across 3 continents. Within a century, Islam had transformed from a small desert movement into one of the most influential civilizations in history, a remarkable achievement in human history. Mecca and Medina are central to both Islamic tradition and history. According to the traditional narrative, Mecca was not only Muhammad's birthplace, but also the epicenter of pre-Islamic Arabian religion and commerce. The Kaaba, located in the heart of the city, served as a sacred shrine that housed over 360 tribal idols. Pilgrims traveled from across the region to venerate these idols, making Mecca a thriving hub of spirituality and trade. However, Muhammad's call to abandon idolatry and embrace monotheism disrupted the status quo. Mecca's elites, who profited from the pilgrimage economy, viewed his message as a direct threat. This opposition forced Muhammad and his followers to migrate to Medina in 622 CE, a pivotal moment known as the Hijra. In Medina, Muhammad not only found refuge, but also an opportunity to establish the first Islamic state, uniting diverse and often hostile tribes under a shared religious identity. Medina became the political and spiritual foundation of Islam. From here, Muhammad organized his community, developed legal frameworks, and led military campaigns. Over time, the Muslim community grew strong enough to challenge Mecca's dominance. In 630 CE, Muhammad returned to his birthplace with an army and peacefully reclaimed the city. He cleansed the Kaaba of its idols, transforming it into a monotheistic sanctuary dedicated to Allah. Interestingly, some scholars suggest that Medina may have played a larger role in shaping early Islam than tradition emphasizes. Early Islamic texts rarely mention Mecca compared to Medina, fueling debates about whether the city's prominence grew over time as Islam expanded. Regardless, the enduring legacy of these two cities reflects their profound importance in Islamic history. Here's something surprising. Early Quranic inscriptions found on coins sometimes differ slightly from the Quranic text we know today. What do these discrepancies mean? Let's explore. The Quran is the cornerstone of Islamic belief, regarded by Muslims as the literal word of God revealed to Muhammad over 23 years. Want to discover more about the ancient world's most profound texts and technologies? Secrets of the Ancient World unravels these mysteries and more. Grab your copy in the pinned comment below. According to traditional accounts, it was compiled into its final form during the Caliphate of Uthman, 644 to 656 CE, to ensure a standardized text for the growing Muslim community. This narrative portrays the Quran as an unaltered divine revelation. However, some scholars suggest a more complex story. Revisionist theories propose that the Quran's compilation may have been shaped by political needs during Islam's rapid expansion. As the Umayyad Caliphate, 661 to 750 CE, ruled over a vast and diverse empire, they required a unifying framework to consolidate power. The Quran, with its emphasis on law, governance, and social cohesion, was ideal for this purpose. Archaeological evidence adds to the debate. Early Quranic inscriptions, such as those found on coins and in mosques, sometimes differ slightly from the standardized text we know today. These variations suggest that the Quran's final form may have been solidified over decades rather than immediately after Muhammad's death. This raises intriguing questions. Was the Quran solely a spiritual text, or was it also a carefully crafted tool to support political unity? What's remarkable is how the Quran helped transform a fragmented society into one of the most influential civilizations in history. Whether seen as a divine revelation or shaped in part by political forces, the Quran's role in uniting people across vast territories remains unparalleled. It stands as both a spiritual guide and a testament to the power of shared ideas in shaping human history. But what if Islam's beginnings weren't what we thought? What if its roots extended far beyond Arabia? The answers might change how we see this global faith forever. In the 1970s, a group of scholars began re-examining Islam's origins, launching what is now known as the Revisionist school of Islamic studies. These researchers argued that the traditional narrative, written decades after the events it describes, may have been shaped more by the needs of a growing empire than by historical accuracy. One of the central questions raised by revisionist scholars is the reliability of early Islamic sources. The earliest surviving biographies of Muhammad and collections of hadith, sayings of Muhammad, date to more than a century after his death. This significant time gap left room for stories and traditions to be influenced by the political and religious priorities of later rulers. Some scholars argue that these sources reflect less about Muhammad's life and more about the empire's efforts to create a cohesive identity. Patricia Crone and Michael Cook, key figures in the revisionist movement, took this argument further in their groundbreaking but controversial book, Hagerism. Imagine Crone and Cook in the 1970s, poring over ancient manuscripts and debating late into the night. Their controversial findings, like the idea of a Jewish Arabic messianic movement, sparked fierce debates in academic circles. They proposed that Islam didn't emerge fully formed in Arabia, but developed as part of a broader Jewish Arabic messianic movement in the Levant. Their work suggests that early Islam was deeply influenced by Jewish and Christian traditions before evolving into its distinct form. Archaeological evidence has added to the debate. For instance, the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, built in 691 CE, contains inscriptions referring to Muhammad alongside Jesus and Mary. This suggests a fluid and evolving religious identity during Islam's early years, challenging the idea of a fully formed monotheistic religion from the start. Although the revisionist school's theories remain controversial, they've opened new avenues for understanding Islam's beginnings, reminding us that history is often shaped by both faith and power. One of the most radical ideas from the revisionist school is the suggestion that Islam's origins may not lie solely in Mecca. While the traditional narrative firmly places the religion's birth in the Arabian Peninsula, some scholars propose alternative theories, arguing that Islam may have been deeply influenced or even partly shaped by the Levant, modern-day Syria, Palestine, and Jordan. This theory stems from textual, environmental, and archaeological evidence. The Quran, for example, describes lush agricultural landscapes, fertile valleys, and settled communities, features that seem more characteristic of the Levant than Mecca's arid desert environment. Such details have led some researchers to speculate that the Quran's early content might have been composed or shaped in a region where these conditions were more familiar. Building on this, Crone and Cook suggested that Islam initially emerged as part of a Jewish-Arabic messianic movement in the Levant. They argue that this early form of Islam was heavily influenced by the Abrahamic traditions already dominant in the area, borrowing elements from both Judaism and Christianity before becoming the distinct religion we know today. Archaeology adds another layer to this theory. Early mosques in the Levant and inscriptions from the Umayyad period show significant influences from Byzantine and Christian architectural styles. Even the Dome of the Rock, constructed in Jerusalem in 691 CE, features elements that reflect the region's multicultural heritage. These findings suggest that Islam's early development may have been deeply intertwined with the cultural and religious dynamics of the Eastern Mediterranean. While this theory is far from universally accepted, it challenges traditional assumptions about Islam's geographic and cultural origins, urging us to view its emergence as part of a broader historical context. Archaeology provides fascinating glimpses into early Islamic history, but leaves many unanswered questions. Unlike some ancient civilizations with abundant written records and artifacts, the material evidence for Islam's beginnings is surprisingly sparse, adding fuel to debates between traditionalists and revisionist scholars. Coins, inscriptions, and early architecture from the Umayyad period, 661 to 750 CE, offer intriguing clues. For example, early Islamic coins often display religious inscriptions that differ slightly from the Quranic text we know today. These discrepancies suggest that the Quran may not have been fully standardized during its early years, raising questions about its compilation and evolution. Similarly, early inscriptions referencing Muhammad are rare, and when they do appear, they sometimes include references to Jesus and Mary, hinting at a more fluid religious identity during Islam's formative period. For more on the technologies and structures that shaped ancient civilizations, don't miss Secrets of the Ancient World. It's packed with fascinating insights. Get your copy now through the pinned comment. Another area of debate involves the Kaaba. While Islamic tradition places the Kaaba at the heart of pre-Islamic Arabian worship and Muhammad's mission, physical evidence from the 7th century directly linking the structure to early Islam is elusive. Some scholars argue that the Kaaba's centrality in Islamic tradition may have been emphasized retroactively as Islam expanded and needed a unifying sacred site. Despite these gaps, archaeology has confirmed other aspects of early Islamic history. The rapid construction of mosques pointing toward Mecca demonstrates the speed at which Islam spread, while the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem reflects the blending of religious and political power under the Umayyads. The gaps in the archaeological record remind us how challenging it is to reconstruct the past. They also highlight the complexities of early Islam, where faith, politics, and culture intertwined to create a civilization that transformed the ancient world. The rise of Islam cannot be understood without examining the interplay between faith and politics. If you're enjoying this deep dive, consider supporting the channel with a super thanks. Your contribution helps us continue uncovering history's secrets for curious minds like you. As Islam grew from a local movement into a global empire, political leadership and religious authority became deeply intertwined, shaping how the religion was practiced, interpreted, and remembered. The Umayyad Caliphate, 661-750 CE, offers a vivid example of how politics influenced Islam's development. At its height, the Umayyad Empire spanned from Spain to Central Asia, encompassing diverse populations with varying languages, cultures, and beliefs. To unify these territories, the Umayyads relied on Islam as both a spiritual and political framework. The Quran's emphasis on governance, law, and social cohesion provided the foundation for creating a shared identity across the empire. Some scholars argue that the Quran's standardization during this time may have been driven not only by religious devotion, but also by the caliphate's need for political unity. Monumental architecture also reflects this blending of faith and power. The Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, constructed under the Umayyads, proclaimed Islamic monotheism while asserting the empire's dominance over rival religious traditions like Christianity and Judaism. Its inscriptions are both theological and political, highlighting the caliphate's claim to leadership in the Abrahamic tradition. Interestingly, the emphasis on Mecca as the spiritual heart of Islam may also have served a political purpose. By elevating a distinctly Arabian city, the caliphs could strengthen their ties to Arab tribes, reinforcing their legitimacy as rulers. Through this lens, Islam's early history becomes more than a spiritual awakening. It's also the story of how religion and politics worked hand in hand to unify a vast and diverse empire, leaving a legacy that still resonates today. Islamic theology and practice have evolved significantly since the religion's founding, shaped by centuries of intellectual and cultural exchange. As the Islamic empire expanded, the Quran and Hadith served as the foundation for a rich tradition of interpretation and debate. This process not only unified diverse Muslim communities, but also created space for innovation and adaptation. In the early years, scholars worked to formalize fiqh, or Islamic jurisprudence, developing legal frameworks to guide everything from personal behavior to governance. Fiqh, which refers to the interpretation and application of Islamic law, guided everything from personal behavior to governance. Think of it as a legal system tailored to a spiritual framework, shaped by cultural diversity. These efforts produced multiple schools of thought within Sunni and Shia traditions, reflecting the empire's cultural diversity. In many cases, local customs and traditions influenced how Islamic law was applied, demonstrating Islam's adaptability to different societies. The Abbasid Caliphate, 750 to 158 CE, marked a golden age of Islamic philosophy and science as scholars engaged with ideas from Greek, Persian, and Indian traditions. Thinkers like Al-Farabi, Avicenna, and Al-Ghazali explored profound questions about reason, faith, and ethics, blending ancient knowledge with Islamic teachings. Their work contributed to breakthroughs in disciplines such as medicine, mathematics, and astronomy. For example, Al-Khwarizmi's development of algebra, a term derived from the Arabic word al-jabr, laid the foundation for modern mathematics. Baghdad's House of Wisdom became a global center for learning, where scholars translated and preserved ancient texts while producing groundbreaking new ideas. This intellectual exchange not only advanced Islamic thought, but also shaped the intellectual history of the wider world. The evolution of Islamic thought reveals a dynamic interplay between tradition and innovation. Far from being static, Islam's early centuries were marked by creativity and adaptation, demonstrating how religion can grow and flourish as it engages with the challenges of its time. The debate over Islam's origins is far more than an academic discussion. It offers a window into how history, religion, and power shape each other. For believers, the traditional narrative of Islam's emergence represents a cornerstone of faith, providing meaning and identity. For historians, examining this narrative reveals how religions evolve and adapt over time, often influenced by the social and political realities of their day. One reason this debate resonates today is its connection to broader themes of cultural identity and unity. Islam emerged in a time of tribal division and environmental hardship, offering a unifying vision that transcended kinship and geography. Similarly, modern societies face challenges like globalization, environmental crises, and social inequality, issues that echo the struggles of early Islamic communities. This parallel reminds us that history is not just about the past, but also about understanding the forces that shape our present and future. The possibility that the Quran's final form was influenced by political agendas during the Umayyad period reveals an uncomfortable truth. History is often written by those in power. This raises important questions about how sacred texts can serve not just spiritual needs, but also worldly ones, functioning as tools of unity and control in times of rapid change. It's a striking reminder of how religion and politics have always been closely intertwined. Ultimately, this discussion invites us to reflect on the nature of history itself. Whether viewed through the lens of faith or scholarship, the search for Islam's origins is a powerful reminder of how the past continues to shape our world today. The origins of Islam remain one of the most fascinating and contested mysteries in history. For centuries, the traditional narrative has offered a story of divine revelation and transformation, serving as a source of meaning and identity for billions of people. Yet, as we've seen, modern scholarship has opened new doors, challenging us to reconsider how religion, politics, and culture shaped Islam's earliest years. What makes this debate so captivating is its complexity. Traditionalists and revisionists both seek to uncover the truth, but their perspectives reveal vastly different stories. On one side, there's the inspiring account of a prophet uniting a fragmented society through faith. On the other, there's the possibility that Islam's foundations were shaped by the broader currents of history, trade, politics, and the Abrahamic traditions of the ancient world. And then there's the Quran itself. Throughout this journey, we've hinted at a compelling theory. Some scholars believe the Quran's final form may not have been compiled immediately after Muhammad's death, as tradition holds. Instead, they propose it was finalized decades later, during the Umayyad Caliphate, as a tool to unify a vast empire. If true, this reframes the Quran not only as a divine text, but also as a profound example of how faith can serve the practical needs of governance. The truth about Islam's origins may never be fully unraveled, but the search itself enriches our understanding of history. Thanks for joining us. What do you think? Does the traditional story resonate with you, or do the revisionist theories challenge your perspective? Share your thoughts below. And if you're ready to uncover more historical mysteries, hit that like button, subscribe, and check out our video Arabia Before Islam, The Sands of Time, linked right here. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep the flame of curiosity burning bright.